Wake up, wake up. It is great to have you here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. You could be anywhere this morning, but you're here, and we thank you very, very much for doing just that. Like and subscribe. And Larry, we got a few different things to get into today. We got a technically a new owner, I guess. We got new rules to talk about. We got a new blinking lights at Oracle Park to talk about. So lots going on. How are you, pal?
1 month from today is day one of the NFL draft.
So
today is March 25th. The NFL draft is April the 25th through the 27th. It's time to really hunker down and mock draft this thing up. No. But I will be doing a mock draft later today, and I do one every Monday. This will be, I think, the 5th edition of the mock since we started it.
Mock 5.0.
5.0. Mock 5.0. We're starting to really hone in now.
Yeah, it's easy to predict who's going to go at 238 when you don't know who the 237 previous picks were. So good luck with that. I think you're going to nail it. I bet
we're going to dig deep to get into the NFL draft. Now we got some Niners notes. Baseball season starting. I'm kicking all kinds of ass in the tournament pool. I have 14 of the Sweet 16 with all Final Four teams still alive.
Oh, congratulations to you. Jillian nearly had a perfect Midwest region until Creighton upset Oregon in double overtime. And the rest of her bracket was kind of a mess, but you got
to believe in the Blue Jays, baby. Got to believe in the Blue Jays.
I mean, I wasn't very wrong. It did go to double overtime, but yeah.
Baylor Shireman.
He's good. He's real good.
Shoot it.
He's real good.
I
think it's been a B- NCAA tournament so far. Like, I don't know what they're going to put into the one shining moment montage based on the first 4 days of play. Like, we had a couple games go to overtime, and then those overtimes weren't very exciting. They got lopsided there. Any game that goes into overtime means you don't get that game-winning shot. So, sure, there's excitement, but I don't know. I mean, it was a good first round, but it's not memorable. Nothing that happened over the last 4 days is going to be seared into my NCAA tournament soul forever. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen.
I'll say this: I watched all of. We went out to dinner with the in-laws last night in Vacaville, so we met them for dinner. So I came home and I watched my taped version of Bama Grand Canyon. Oh my God. What a game. What a game that was. Alabama Grand Canyon. Just chaos.
Charles Barkley said,
just absolute chaos. In Grand Canyon, Damon had 5 assists. 5. The entire game.
Charles Barkley said, I've never seen a stupider basketball team ever. They just go one-on-one, Kenny. That's all they do. And so that was Charles Barkley.
It was phenomenal to watch.
Well,
I mean, it was phenomenal to watch. Grand Canyon's got this kid who's really good, Tyon Grant Foster, who's a 6'7" swingman who kind of looks build-wise just like Andrew Wiggins, but he plays with so much fire. I mean, it's reckless, but I mean, the guy's definitely NBA. And then Bama, my God, Bama had an incredible performance out of Mark Sears. He had 21 and he's been averaging 21 on the year, but I think he went for like 26 and 12. He was really good. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals.
What I love is that Purdue,
they were awesome.
Purdue puts up one of the more dominant wins we've ever seen in the round of 32. And everybody in the nation is just bagging on how awful it is to watch Purdue because Zach Edey is a layup or a free throw. That's it. He's got no verticality. So even as Purdue is dominating, the entire nation is still shitting on Purdue. So that always makes me happy. It's the closest I'm going to come to cutting down any nets. Let's get into it here, Larry. Again, wake up, everyone. Welcome, like, and subscribe. And here we go. Are you ready for the Jed York era? Because it's officially upon us. And, in many ways, it has been for a long time. I think that the window dressing of, Denise is still the owner is just pretty much that. It's only mathematically fact, but Jed has been pulling levers for a very, very long time. But he's officially about to be flipped the keys here, Larry. Sports Business Journal saying that he's buying out his mom. Again, I don't know how much I even necessarily believe that there's going to be some major, massive cash transaction between him and his mom here. They're keeping it in the family, and as we all knew, that you leave your things to your kids. So it was going to be Jed the entire time. The 43-year-old is now officially elevated to principal owner after being walking around with that CEO label on him. So it's Jed's universe now, Larry. I mean, I think it always kind of was, but it's definitely his now.
Yeah, I mean, no question. And this is just a formality. I mean, everybody treated him like the primary owner for the last whatever number of years. He's now 43. He's held the title of CEO since 2010. He essentially has been the owner in every way except the title, which will now formally change. And it's interesting because it's like, in some ways, Damon, he's just like Eddie D, and in some ways, he's the diametric opposite of Eddie D. I mean, Jed York's been to 3 Super Bowls and has lost 3 Super Bowls. Eddie went to 5 and won 5.
I will say this. I didn't see Jed York make a bad play in any of these Super Bowls. I haven't seen him make a wrong decision yet. So
no, but I mean, I think they're similar from the standpoint of their early years of Jed and the Yorks were riddled with mistakes, hiring Mike Singletary in the locker room, trying to find the next Walsh and Dennis Erickson, trying to dial it back to yesteryear in Niner land with Mike Nolan, having a dysfunctional situation going with Jim Harbaugh, and then finding Kyle Shanahan. And for Eddie, he hired Joe Thomas and traded draft picks that became Joe Cribbs for O.J. Simpson, and had a couple bad years, and then found Walsh, and the rest is really history. They both, Walsh and McVay and the Niners had huge success for Eddie D, and Shanahan and Lynch, I think, are in the midst of having huge success for Jed. So there are some parallels, then there are differences. The differences are that Eddie was never satisfied, never was satisfied with winning, where Jed said that he would have been satisfied if the Lions had beaten the Niners in the NFC Championship game. So, and maybe that's part of the issue with the 49ers is they don't have that person just driving them to the bitter finish line. The goal is to be very good, and they've been very good. So I don't know. It definitely an interesting day, and definitely an interesting day to kind of map out where the Niners have been, are, and are going.
Well, I think he's done a good job after he made the right hire and just got off the stage. I think that is part and parcel of, I'm guessing, what would be rising popularity for Jed York. It seems like he was at the bottom of the well of popularity after the whole Harbaugh breakup. No one was very happy with Jed. I might have led the charge that he built a stadium that is galactically unimpressive, considering how impressive the 49ers are as an NFL franchise, and it's in the wrong city. But outside of that, you can't argue with the level of success that this team has enjoyed. It hasn't been the ultimate success, but there are 31 other NFL teams. Basically, any team not named the Kansas City Chiefs wishes they were the San Francisco 49ers over the last 4 or 5 years. So I got no problems with Jed. I really don't. I think he
spends money, man. He spends the money.
Yeah, he does. He does. And you can say, well, he would have been satisfied with a loss in the NFC title game. And I know he said something to that effect, but I'm not going to pin that on him and try to be bulletin board material against him. I just think he's trying to let everyone understand that we're not going to let one game decide a coaching career when the entirety of the coaching career screams it's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
So
That's his pushback on the Shanahan's got to go, which there's already people in here that are yelling Shanahan's got to go.
sure.
But
Well, there's it, dude. I gotta go, Larry. You gotta go. We all gotta go.
no, I went before the show, so I'm okay right now. I don't have to go.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I personally, I just Eddie was cool. I don't know that Jed's cool, but here's the thing: as long as he cuts the check, and as long as I think he understands that Tom Sula wasn't it, Chip Kelly wasn't it. Shanahan and Lynch are the closest he's got to success on the coaching side, and he's going to ride it out. And I think he should. I think he's probably doing the right thing.
Nick Wagner has got a little story coming out of the NFL owners meeting. I guess Andy Reid was talking with media yesterday. And by the way, Kyle Shanahan is going to be talking with media on Tuesday from the owners league symposium thing that they're having in Orlando right now. Andy Reid, very complimentary of Kyle Shanahan, and just, stressing, just keep on going here. You're going to find what you're looking for eventually. The quote from Andy Reid on what it's going to take for Kyle to get over the hump to win a Super Bowl is this: just keep doing what you're doing, and somewhere you'll pop over the hill there. I know it's not, I know he's got a great young quarterback, and him with a great young quarterback is deadly. That's the quote from Andy Reid talking about Kyle going forward. And I think that's true. Like, I really do think it's just a matter of time before this guy wins the ultimate prize. I certainly hope that the 49ers remain patient enough, and it sounds like Jed York is patient enough to believe in Kyle Shanahan, even though there's been Super Bowl failure. It's been a lot of success everywhere else. It's been a ton of success just in terms of national profile. And when Jed leans forward every morning and opens up the internet or grabs a newspaper, whatever he does, I mean, he sees his team's name splashed all over the place. The Niners are squarely in the middle of any and all NFL topics being discussed because they're that important to the league. And for a while there, they weren't. So, Jerry Jones has found out that you can be awfully successful without winning it all as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not saying he's trying to do that or Jed is trying to emulate that, but when you remain in the conversation, the Tennessee Titans would love to be in the conversation in a way that, the 49ers are constantly there. So this is a really well-run franchise. It's a well-coached franchise. And I know that there's a lot of still unsatisfied fans out there, but believe me, the world that a lot of people complain about is better than most worlds NFL fans ever get to live in.
I mean, I love hearing that from Andy Reid because that was my exact take. Over the last few weeks when we've talked about Shanahan and where the Niners are at and the bitterness of losing the Super Bowl. It's like I kind of agree 100% with what he said. I mean, just you got a good thing going. Keep doing what you're doing. You have a great young head coach. You got a great young quarterback. Just keep it rolling. Build around him. Find winners. Find savage defensive players and build a fortress around him offensive line wise. And this might be the ideal draft to do exactly that. As we get closer, you might be able to get a center, a guard, and a tackle in this draft that could be the foundation of Brock Purdy's next great offensive line. With the great players on the right side instead of the left. So Nick Nice says he's not great. Of course he's talking about Shanahan, I'm sure, or he's talking about Purdy, either one. But I think you got, you've got a top tier young head coach and you've got a top tier young quarterback. Well, and it will happen. It will happen as long as you just keep knocking at that door and keep drafting well, make good decisions. It will happen.
There's enough evidence to show that they're on the right track. Like, everyone can complain and bitch and moan, and we got everyone's worst nightmare says Damon sounds happy to be a loser. The 49ers are not losers. I mean, what are you talking about?
Well,
how many winning records in a row do you need to see before you determine these aren't losers? They're not losers. They haven't won a Super Bowl. That doesn't make them losers. You want losers? The NFL is littered with examples of them. And if you think the Niners are the same as them, you don't even know what you're looking at. Like, I don't understand that. So
in the last 4 complete, take away the COVID year, okay? Niners playing home games in Arizona, living in Arizona for like 7 straight weeks or something like that. Take away that year, and the 49ers have been to the NFC Championship game in each of the last 4 years. So they're not losers.
Yeah.
You know, they may not have climbed to the top. I mean, let's be honest about this. There are people that walk around going, Marv Levy and the Buffalo Bills are losers. But if you lived through the era, you know, no, they were not losers. They missed a close field goal in the one winnable Super Bowl they played in, and then they played 3 teams that were better than them. And that's what happens oftentimes in the Super Bowl when you play teams that are better than you. You lose. What were they? Should they have beaten the 90 Giants? Well, that was the best chance. The 91, was it the 91 Redskins? I think.
That's right.
92
right.
Cowboys, 93 Cowboys. I mean, those teams were better. You know, that's simple as that. And these Niner teams, if I had said to you, yeah, you remember that Super Bowl where Jimmy Garoppolo beat, Patrick Mahomes, with any real perspective, people are like, what? That's amazing. But at the time, it's like, this is a Super Bowl that you're now blaming the Niners for not winning when they had Garoppolo against Patrick Mahomes. So I'm just saying, you got to have a little perspective on this thing. Is Shanahan the greatest coach in the league? I don't know. He's a very good offensive coach. Does he have a propensity to step on his own foot in big games? Yes, he does. Do I think that precludes him from winning a Super Bowl down the road? I absolutely do not. And I think that now that the Niners have Shanahan and Purdy, I think their chances are pretty damn good to get one.
The incomplete has been the quarterback. Now he's got that. And based on the improvement we've seen from Brock Purdy from year 1 to year 2, if you project that to even getting better in year 3, should be a very interesting football season coming up, to say the least. Niners are looking for the right backup for George Kittle. At 49ers Sports Talk says they plan on bringing in veteran tight ends on a couple of visits. 2 names that they're already connected to, Robert Tonyan Jr. and Blake Bell, to be a Werner replacement. They're also not ruling out bringing back Ross Dwelley. I'll say this. I can't speak to who Robert Tonyan is as a blocking tight end, but he had a really good year about a year ago in Green Bay. He was good. So if Robert Tonyan is your other tight end, it's a pretty good tight end room.
Once again, they're listening to the Krueger show. Just threw this out the other day. Robert Tonyan. I love Robert Tonyan. And Kittle likes him as well. And he's invited him to tight end U. He was good with Rodgers and Green Bay. Not nearly as good in Chicago, but he's only 29. He's a good receiver. I think that would be a fantastic addition. I think the Niners probably, if you look at them on paper, Damon, could use one veteran receiver and one veteran tight end and one rookie tight end. If they came away with Tonyan as their veteran and some rookie that they really like in the draft, I think that's a pretty good tight end position. I really do. I think Latu's going to be better this year. I just think what we saw last year was a guy who is super talented, super athletic, but also the tight end position at Alabama is like, kindergarten. And the tight end position with the Niners is like grad student level. And as far as movement and decision-making and all the different things you need to be thinking about, I think what we were looking at last summer was just a player who was just thinking. He's just thinking way too much. And this year, he won't have to do that thinking. He'll know the scheme. I expect Cam Latu to show up big time. I don't know if I'd be in a rush to re-sign Dwelley, but Shanahan, Dwelley is like he's like a stuffed animal or something to Kyle Shanahan. He's like a comfort food, He's a guy who can catch the ball in a pinch. He can play fullback in a pinch. He can help you on special teams. I don't know. To me, I'd move on, but I understand. Dwelly, maybe a rookie, and Tanyan, that would be nice.
By the way, everyone's worst nightmare says, by the way, I dropped a like on both of your streams this morning. So thank you very, very much for doing that. Please hit like and subscribe. Memberships available on both channels. The first of 3 morning streams that you get each and every week now, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You get to wake up at 8:30 with yours truly and Larry Krueger. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on by.
It's a strong stream too. It's not an inconsistent stream, or we're having no issues with our stream. It's a very strong stream.
It's not trickling. We're streaming. We're not trickling.
It's not a meadowbrook. It's a thriving thoroughfare of water rushing down the hill.
It's like the Russian River after the frost comes out of Tahoe and starts melting. You get rapids. We're far enough away from next football season to be declaring this rapids, but hey, it's good to have you here.
We're stage 3 rapids right now. We're not stage 5, but we're stage 3 rapids, which means you do need a life vest, and you could fall over. And by the way, I have fallen over rafting. I rafted from Tahoe City to down the I guess it was the Truckee River, and we got too close to the side, and there was like a big tree branch, and it like basically took me and got me and threw me out of the raft. The kids laughed. I had to swim back to the raft. It was a stressful moment for the Krueger family, and I did lose I lost a flip flop. I mean.
Oh, no.
It's there in the Truckee somewhere.
To be remembered forever.
Have you ever done that, by the way? You got to take Jack and Ozzy to River Ranch.
We're gonna wait a little bit later in life. We're not bringing the 4-year-old and 2-year-old, but I was at a buddy's party, and we did the Russian River, and every dude in the boat was a friend. It's not like we were, at a Benihana table where we didn't know 5 of the people in the boat. We were all boys, and there's only one fat ass who fell out of the back of the boat that day. Guess who it was?
You?
Yeah. That water was cold. I was miserable the rest of the day, but had fun.
You know what? When I went to Sac State, we used to have maybe the most fun thing to do in Sacramento as a college student. Dead of summer, 115 degrees. You go out to Sunrise. You get a big truck inner tube. You get a backpack and strap it to it. You fill it with a bunch of cold beers, and you float. And you float down to Howe Avenue. And Damon, I'll tell you, man, it's glorious. 97 degrees, 100 degrees, whatever it is. Water's cold beers. You're hanging out with your friends. It's beautiful. That was my favorite thing to do in Sac.
Just life-changing sunburns.
Yeah, sunrise down to Howe Avenue, the float. Yeah, it was good times.
Very nice. Very nice. You got to plan ahead and have a car waiting for you and bring you back.
You do. You got to have a car waiting for you, and you got to be honest here. If you have a good group, you're going to grow together. But if it's kind of like an NBA season. If you have a bad group, by the time you get to Howe Avenue, there's going to be some punches thrown. I mean, it's a bad group on the river for 4 or 5 hours does not grow together. It grows.
Larry,
apart.
were you on the receiving end of some punches one day?
Not really, but I've seen quite a few river. We get into the water at 11 a.m. and everybody was friends. By the time we're getting out of the water, guys are fighting.
Rolling on the river.
Great times, though. Great times.
Some NFL news, not necessarily Niners news, but NFL news. Mike McDaniel says that the Dolphins have an offer out to Odell Beckham Jr. I know that's a player you and I talked about not being the right fit for the 49ers. Mike McDaniel seems to be interested. Dolphins got an offer out to the artist formerly known as Odell Beckham Jr.,
who I think is just at this point, I mean, if you if you have the right kind of room, he fits. The one thing about wide receiver rooms is they need to complement one another. So if you have what the Niners have with Debo and Ayuk and JJ, the last thing you need is OBJ. But if you have a bunch of young guys or a bunch of vertical threats and you're just looking for a chain mover, he's great. And for them, with Tyreek being a monster and Waddle being a monster as far as speed, they probably could use an OBJ. Somebody who can sit in a soft spot in a zone, catch it, take a hit, and hold on. So maybe it's a good move for them. I didn't like it for the Niners.
No, I didn't either. And it doesn't fit the culture, doesn't fit the team. Miami, that's totally where Odell Beckham Jr. probably wants to be. It's, what he's dating, Kim Kardashian right now. You got Tyreek Hill trying to get every woman in South Beach pregnant all at once. So the two of them.
OBJ is dating Kim Kardashian?
Yeah,
really?
He is.
Look at him.
Remember, the secret to dating any Kardashian, Larry, is you rent, you never buy.
OBJ. Who knew?
So a couple of rule changes around the NFL.
Okay.
Let's start with this one. The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle. It's essentially a Southern Hemisphere horse collar is really what it is. I've always thought it to be a dangerous play. It was unanimously approved to ban it from the league. I can already see fans talking about, well, that wasn't really a hip drop. He rolled, he didn't rend on his legs. Like, we're going to be debating about, was that an illegal or not legal tackle way too many times this upcoming football season in the NFL. Instead of, making it easy to get right, I'm sure we'll do all it can to make it very easy to screw up week to week. But banning the hip drop tackle is a safety measure that I can get behind. So good on that. No problems there, right?
Well, okay. I mean, this is the tackle that Jimmy Ward took out Tony Pollard a couple years ago in Niners Cowboys in the playoffs.
Right.
And basically it's you tackle the guy up high, you swing your body weight low, and it just chops the guy down like a tree. Now, once again, we have more and more rules that favor the offense in the NFL. It's how does a corner stop Derrick Henry if you can't do that? You know what I mean? How does a 195-pound man stop a 230-pound guy with a head of steam? If you can't somehow swing your body down and into the guy's legs. I mean,
well,
I don't know. I don't like it when I see bigger bodies on smaller bodies, but when I'm now thinking about the corner trying to stop the power back, and I don't know how that's going to happen anymore. Advantage power back.
What we really have is a lack of tackling skills in this league now. I mean, it's the league has football is basically about two things. It's about blocking and tackling. And blocking and tackling in the NFL have never been worse. And I don't know if it's because of the measured practice time you're allowed to just go out and play with now, fewer live reps in practice because it's such a grind of a year. But, better technique will make up for the just, grab hips and fall down. The question is, how will that better technique be coached? How often will it be implemented? And how often will guys just resort to, hey, I got to make this tackle, and I really wasn't thinking anything other than get this guy down. And, technique went out the window, and I had to make the tackle. Like you said, here comes Derrick Henry. What do you want me to do? So I understand the rule, but it'll be a headache. There's no doubt the NFL will make it a headache more than will make there will be more people angry at the rule than there ever were at any injuries from a hip drop tackle, right?
Well, and then just think about it. I mean, if it's a big 230-pound running back down the field against a DB, if you're a DB, you're going to give up that penalty rather than the touchdown. So I don't know if it's going to change too much, to be honest. But we'll see. I mean, it will make guys it will make guys try to wrap with their arms better, and it will make guys try to, hit, and get these guys to the ground. The whole like holding on as the guy, rumbles down the field, that's those days have come and gone. You're not going to be able to, because once you've hit Derrick Henry and he's still moving and you're 195 pounds, what's stopping the train? Nothing.
I want to know, will it be challengeable? Like if you get an official saying that's an illegal tackle, will you be able to challenge that, or is it going to be like pass interference where you're not allowed to challenge the referee's opinion? Speaking of challenges, it's another rule change that we have. Coaches who get one challenge correct will now be granted a third challenge. You used to have to get both challenges correct. I would just say that the NFL should just basically have a constant challenge official just looking at everything at all times. And I think everything should be challengeable. I think
the challenge system's garbage. I think it's absolutely garbage. It predicates an outcome and it favors an outcome. It's like we're calling it on the field, and now we need overwhelming video evidence to overturn it. Why do that? Why if you don't know the call enough where you need to replay it, why not just do what they do in horse racing? Inquiry. Instead of a yellow flag, throw up a red flag. There is no call. So now we can just go to the booth, and without any bias, without any advantage, we can just look at the video replay and make a decision. Why do we have to have, it was ruled a fumble on the field, and now we need overwhelming video evidence to overturn it? Stop pretending like these guys on the field are just the end-all, be-all.
Right.
These are plays that they didn't get right a lot of the time. Just inquiry. It happens in the horse race. You're watching at Santa Anita. There's two horses bobbing heads down the stretch. It looks like the 1 beat the 7, but you're not really sure. They go to an inquiry. They don't say the 1 horse beat the 7 horse.
And unless we find indisputable horsey evidence.
unless we absolutely prove it, because now you got bodies in the middle and you can't see, and you got angles, and then certain games you got more cameras than other games. And it's just kind of it predetermines one outcome. And I think it kind of makes the officials call it, a certain way, because it's like, we'll just call what's safe, and then we'll get the replay. I would rather just have the inquiry and get it right. Get it right. Don't tell me you need overwhelming video evidence. Just get it right. And then at least you're taking a major step towards more transparency and less. I mean, they have a system, but is the system foolproof in any way? No. And do they want it to be foolproof in any way? No. It's like, we want a system that like protects the feelings of the officials, and makes some sense compared to as far as we'll rule it this way and we'll give them the upper hand. You're already saying by going to replay that it was too fast for them. So why take them? Why just alleviate their situation and just be like, it was too fast, we're throwing the flag, and now we're going to see what really happened.
Well, I mean, the rule change that I think everyone's waiting for is NFL officials are going to be full-time officials, and they're going to be training and working round, 12 months of the year on NFL. That's it. They should be full-time league employees, and this is really probably going to make the sport better than anything else. And why the NFL refuses to do it is it's beyond me. Tom Pelissero, Larry, has the final rule change for us. The NFL Competition Committee unanimously approved a tweak in the proposed NFL hybrid kickoff rule, making touchbacks that go into the end zone on the fly come out to the 30-yard line instead of the 35. The change provides kicking teams with less punitive option if they don't want to take the chance on a long return. The adjusted rule proposal will be presented to owners for a possible vote later today. So
fine, I guess. I mean,
sure.
I'm not gonna, it's a minor change. I
It's
don't understand why
unnecessary.
you have it. Why have kickoff returns if you were so deathly afraid of what the kickoff return play produces injury wise? Why have it? Why have it at all?
I don't like teams. I don't like teams in this league making rules like concerned Pop Warner mothers. Like it's a brutal sport. Guys are paid an awful lot of money to put their bodies through the meat grinder. You can't take the violence out of the game. It's inherent to the game. It's part of what you're selling. And just stop. Just stop. If you really care about the players, give universal health care to them and their families if they play a single down for you. There you go. Now I know you care. All this stuff is, I don't get it. I really don't.
I mean, it sounds terrible that we're in lockstep on this one, but that makes sense. Think about it this way. If you're the NFL, everybody knows football is violent. It's not like, the XFL is not violent. The CFL is not violent. High school football is not violent. College football is violent. So it's not like the NFL invented violence, right? They're just the highest level of football, and football is violent. Okay, so I agree with you wholeheartedly. What greater PR could there ever be to say that anybody who makes it to the NFL, you make it to the NFL, you have lifetime health care? Would it be expensive? Yeah. But guess what they have? Gobs and gobs and gobs of cash.
Right.
And
Their
guess what
money
they
goes to infinity.
And guess what they should be absolutely care the most about? The health and well-being of the guys who put on the uniform. That is the product. And to me, that would be a very strong argument. Hey, you know what? We know our game's violent. We know our game's, injury filled. But every single guy who ever plays any snaps in the NFL has lifetime medical. We can't do any better than that. At that point, you can celebrate that. You can look your customers in the eye. Now the violence in the game is not a guilty pleasure. Now everybody who signs up for it also is covered. Nobody's out there operating, without a net, so to speak. Right now, the NFL is like, if you're a quarterback, you have like lifetime you've got financial guarantees and assurances that are incredible. If you're just a guy in the NFL, you're like, it's like a soldier for hire almost. It's like, let's see what can happen first. Do you die first, or does your body break down first, or do you get paid first? I mean, that's what it's at. I mean, these guys are in a rough deal where they're throwing their bodies around and there's no guaranteed money. And if you're hurt, you're done. And just the culture of football for the non-star is just so much worse than the culture of football for the star. And that they've got to do something to make it not so dramatically different between being a have and a have not. Because that's what makes the preseason so weird, is that you got guys who are just tiptoeing through it going, let me get to week 1. That's when my deal becomes guaranteed. And then you got guys going, I'm throwing my body around because I don't care if it's preseason game number 3. This is my Super Bowl Sunday, because if I don't make this team, I'm going to be, bagging groceries. And so I got to play a million miles an hour. And that's what coaches fear. They fear the guy playing a million miles an hour, hitting somebody that is just trying to get to week 1. So it to me, that's a major problem in the game. Somehow they've got to take care of their players better. They've got to compensate their lower level players better.
Well, I'm sure that there will be people flocking to the chat to call me some, like West Coast liberal pussy or something like that. But I believe.
You got my chat?
Yeah, thank you. No, but seriously, I believe that your status, your wealth should not affect the healthcare coverage that you receive. It shouldn't. Everyone should be treated the same. You should get the best possible care, whether you're, a quarterback, a guard, a CEO, a homeless person who walked into the hospital. Shouldn't matter. You should get the best possible health care that we can give to a human if you're a human. So I think that the NFL could do itself, a world of PR good, and beyond just being PR good, a world of good by granting this to players. And would it cost an awful lot of money? Not to the NFL, it really wouldn't. No, it would be
it would cost
hundreds of millions. It would be hundreds of millions of dollars, and hundreds of millions of dollars can be found in the NFL's couch cushions.
Yeah. Well, and come on, you cannot open your arms to a whole new revenue stream of gambling and embrace it so fully, and then tell us that, and then Roger Goodell with his bullshit, I'm going to hug you like you're my own personal son on draft day because it's a brotherhood. How about, a little less brotherhood talk and a little bit more lifetime medical talk?
Yeah.
Because like the 49ers have created the Golden Heart Fund. The Miami Dolphins have copied it. They have created their version of the Golden Heart Fund. Those are two teams in the league. The rest of the league is you're just SOL. So, the 49ers have a foundation that helps your retired players get, guy's house burnt down last year. Guy needed money right away. They helped that player, Another guy may have a tragedy of some kind. It just cuts out the middleman. It streamlines the payment. The money gets to the source much faster, and it's the right damn thing to do. And Eddie D talked about it in his Hall of Fame speech. Let's get back to being a family. And the Niners do it, the Dolphins do it, and there's talk of other teams copying it. But to this point, it hasn't happened yet. That at least, that's like a good fallback, for a league that doesn't have, medical forever for all of its players. But if they did, you probably wouldn't need programs like that. But I'm glad to see that those programs are starting to sprout up.
You got anything else on 49ers rule changes? Anything else that we before we kind of start looking a little elsewhere that you want to get in?
Well, yeah, the 49ers, I think we're in a time where, now you're in the draft window, right? And you're looking at your team, and the 49ers have made a lot of moves that would enable them to go for like best player available, because they've got, did they lose some D linemen? Yeah, but they gained some D linemen. They don't have a hole on the offensive line, per se, if you don't consider McKivitz and Feliciano and Brendel holes. Those guys are all signed up. So, they've got a lot of, they don't need a backup quarterback. They just signed Josh Dobbs. So now it's like we're in that window of, well, you know what? The Niners can actually go best player available. And one of the guys who, as we're getting closer to the draft, I just love, and I loved him in college, but the more I watch his film and read his story and look at his numbers, the more I think this guy's going to be really special. And that's Blake Corum, the running back from Michigan. And I know they've got McCaffrey, and I know they got J.P. Mason and Elijah Mitchell, and they don't need a running back. I'm sure would be the first common refrain if you brought up.
What they don't need, Larry, is a running back that they then don't play. Like, if you're going to draft a kid, give him reps.
I'm just saying Blake Corum is a terrific player.
I've watched an awful lot of him at Michigan, and you're
5'8". Yeah, he's 5'8", 215. But man, if I'm the Niners, and if I could find a way in the first 3 rounds to get myself a Blake Corum, I'm doing it. I don't care if they've had bad success with 3rd round running backs. I don't care if McCaffrey's sitting right there and they don't need him. To me, if you really want to see why Detroit has become Detroit, is because they keep drafting great players. The running back from Georgia is a great player, The tight end from Iowa is a great player. Brian Branch from Alabama was a great player. Penei Sewell, great player. That's how you get great, by drafting great players. And so they go into these drafts and they start targeting these great college players with the great production who also have good, measurables. And they keep drafting great players. Well, if you keep adding great players, eventually you're going to have a great team. And to me, Blake Corum reminds me a little bit of like an Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith was like 5'9", 210. This guy's 5'8", 215. But as far as leader, runner, even better, hasn't been utilized as a receiver, but you could definitely throw it to him. Super tough finisher, just a high character running back who you win games with.
Now that Austin Eckler is in DC with the Commanders, I guarantee you Jim Harbaugh would be interested in drafting him to the Chargers.
You would think. But yeah, a lot of the mock drafts that I've looked at, I found Blake Corum and like running backs are devalued. So people don't have the same thought about running backs, but that's a great player. And as you get closer to the draft, I think you got to start to circle who are the truly great players, not just workout warriors, not just, man, they had that run at Indy. Nobody gives a shit about that run at Indy. John Ross had that run at Indy. There's the world.
Tony Vanderich.
There's all kinds of guys who lit it up, for the stopwatch in Indy who can't play dead. Go find the great college football players. The great college football players will become the great pro players, and draft them. And in my opinion, Blake Corum is one of those great college football players.
Dude, who's going to be great. I got my phone like totally muted, and yet it keeps on ringing through. I got to turn off the ring. I don't know. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. I got one other thing, Larry, before we kind of turn our attention somewhere else. Kansas City on Friday, when you and I wrapped up our show a little while afterwards, L'Jarius Sneed got sent to the Titans for a 2025 third rounder and a swap of a 2024 seventh rounder. As you and I have talked about, possibly a trade for Patrick Surtain. I think the price just went down on Surtain a little bit. You and I were talking like a first, a third, a fifth. I don't think it would cost that much.
Well, I was saying first, second, and third. I got into this the other night with Jesse and Vish. And both of them were like, you know what? The price is going to be way higher than that. And I'm like, I don't think so. And then sure enough, next day, Sneed goes for a third in next year's draft and a seventh in this year's draft. So they just traded their best corner for this year, a seventh round pick, and next year, a third. That is deferred gratification right there. And that is a far cry from what people were saying they were going to get. People were saying they're going to get a high 2 in this year's draft. They got a 3 in next year's draft and a 7 in this year's draft. So, yeah, maybe the price for Surtain might be, 2 2s and a 3 or something like that. And maybe one of those picks deferred. Even if he's more valuable than Sneed, he might be 2 2s and a third. And you know what? I would do that. If I'm the Niners, I absolutely would do that. The Niners have 2 major needs. They gotta find their offensive line of the future on the right side in this draft. Center, guard, tackle if they can. And they need to get a number 1 shutdown money corner to go with the 2 great corners they have right now. And Surtain, if you could do that, maybe keep your 1 this year, trade like your 2 and your 3 this year, and maybe your 2 next year for Surtain. Man, I'm doing that. I'm absolutely doing that. Surtain is a great number 1 corner. He's at the top of his game. He's better than Sneed. He's younger than Sneed. The Niners, there's a right and wrong time to do this kind of a move. The wrong time is most of the time. The right time is when you're inside your Super Bowl window, and they are definitely inside their Super Bowl window. So I hope they do it. I hope they come away with Surtain, because there might be a corner in this draft that's a Surtain, but we don't know who it's going to be.
Right.
And and there's a very good chance there is not a corner like Surtain, because
Surtain's only making just over $1 million this year. His 5th-year option, though, would bring him up to 19 mil.
Right.
So again, that's another reason why if you're the 49ers, you're saying, hey, I'm taking a huge price tag off your hands. That doesn't mean you get a first. So I think that the market came down for Surtain if they want to get a deal done based on the L'Jarius Sneed deal to Tennessee.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a Surtain trade involving the Niners is something everybody's got to at least keep on the table, because now that price was paid for Sneed, who knows? I mean, the last thing you want to see is Surtain in an Eagles or Chiefs uniform for some bargain basement price tag. So hopefully the Niners can get it done. And if I think they might be able to do both, replenish the O-line and get a number 1 corner if they play their cards right in this draft. And then there's also one other note. John Lynch, according to Matt Mayoko, said that Dre Greenlaw and his Achilles, that they're shooting to be ready for week 1. Lynch said it might be more of a PUP thing, which would mean he would be out the first 6 weeks, I believe, of the season. But man, I mean, that is shocking good news. You tore your Achilles in the Super Bowl and you could be ready by week 6.
It's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's medicine, boy. That's science. It's also a guy who's like 27, right? I mean, it's a lot easier to recover from these injuries when you're a younger man than it is when you're Aaron Rodgers and an older man. But even Aaron Rodgers was hinting there was a possibility for him to return at the end of the year when he began the year tearing his Achilles. And obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, it's amazing what medicine and surgery does for guys now. JJ Rader, by the way, says, the key word there for any Surtain trade is future. He's going to demand a large amount of money against the cap. How's that going to work for the future? Well,
I don't give a crap about his future.
His big money will kick in 2025, and it's time to worry about 2024 only. And you figure it out when it's time to figure it out. Get the player in your locker room and then figure it out. That's what good teams, I think, do. That's what teams in their Super Bowl window, like you're saying, they need to do. You can't worry about how this is all going to fit together 2 years from now. You only have to worry about how it fits together now.
Yeah. And there's going to be Trent Williams may retire at that point. Who knows about McCaffrey? Who knows about Kittle? I mean, what you got to do is you got to sprint to getting that Lombardi in the trophy case. Once you get that Lombardi in the trophy case, I think, the world of opportunities opens up for you. And then, yeah, you're going to have to make some tough decisions on the cap. But I think if you're going to get this thing done, you really got to push forward. This isn't the time to be like, let's start dabbling and looking into the future. No, I mean, that's great. Build up your O-line, try to build your future. But you're in your Super Bowl window and you need to capitalize.
Absolutely. All right. Another NFL story, kind of coming from college, is Dion Sanders is saying he will Eli his kid away from a team that he doesn't want him going to. Eli, of course, being Eli Manning, who was picked number 1 by the then San Diego Chargers. And Archie Manning came right in and said, yeah, he's not playing for you. You guys don't know what you're doing. This was a much different San Diego Charger team than they are now. And he basically said, my son's not coming to play for you. You're a bunch of incompetent boobs. And they ended up trading him to the New York Giants. Dion, who is obviously the coach at Colorado, says his son, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, and two-way star corner wide receiver Travis Hunter will decide where they're going in the 2025 draft, not the other way around. The NFL's not going to dictate these kids' futures. They're going to dictate their futures. Dion has said he doesn't want his son, and I quote him, going nowhere cold. So what do you...
You're coaching at Colorado.
And you're trying to avoid
he's already playing for a cold weather team.
Right. And here's the thing, though. You're trying to avoid a bad situation, but then you're saying, like, it's a weather issue more than anything else. So it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Look, Dion,
That's soft.
nobody sniffs his own farts like lines of cocaine, quite like Dion Sanders. Having said all that,
I wouldn't want to play in the cold either, but you know what? I mean,
right.
it's so soft to say it. You know,
Well,
I mean, come on.
Well, you're not playing in the cold. You've just eliminated all but like 6 NFL teams. So
Yeah.
By the way, he says there are certain teams he wants to be certain cities that fit. And then he gets into, going to Atlanta. He saw an awful lot of black excellence and CEOs, and it really, the city spoke to him and he loved being there. And I get that. I totally get that. He did say, though, and I want to congratulate Jed York for making the list. When he talked about cities that could be a fit for Shedeur Sanders, he said San Francisco, Dallas, Washington, Baltimore. Who's going to tell him that Washington and Baltimore get colder than witches' teats? Should anyone tell him that?
Yeah. And that San Francisco already has a quarterback, and very, very, very few people get to make that kind of call. John Elway, Eli Manning, because Peyton Manning had come before him. There are very few guys who get to be like, I won't go there, but I will go there. So we'll see come draft time.
Now, Dion says
what
that
category he's in. Now, Shedeur has got potential.
He does.
So if he is that once in a lifetime player, maybe he'll get to call his shot. But if he's not that once in a lifetime player, he will not get to call his own shot.
Right. If you're rank and file draft pick, you don't dictate nothing to the NFL.
You're the fourth quarterback next year. You're not going to be able to say, I'm only going here.
Right. So Dion thinks that Shedeur Sanders and Hunter will both be selected in the top 4 picks of the 2025 draft, with one of the two players possibly going number 1. Now, we got a college football season coming up, and that'll determine anything. But I will say both of those guys have already put on film some ridiculous talent. And that the one thing that Dion is right about in this story is that these are NFL players. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's great. But I mean, once again, there's been like 3 players that have been able to like choose their own destiny. I mean, Caleb Williams they were talking about him as like a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type player. And he asked for ownership, and people were just like, yeah. No, you're not getting ownership. So, I mean, it's just the NFL is it's the we over I league, and it just seems like it would be very difficult for him to direct his players. But we'll see. I haven't even looked at next year's, board or what next year's draft may look like. But I know there's a lot of great players in it. And it's not going to be like a slam dunk. Like, they're saying the top prospects for next year are, James Pierce, edge rusher from Tennessee, Kelvin Banks, a big tackle from Texas, Will Johnson, defensive back from Michigan, Will Campbell, a gigantic offensive tackle from LSU, and Luther Burden III, the wide receiver from Missouri. And then you get to Shedeur Sanders. And would you say Hunter?
Yeah, Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter, they have as 14. So, if they're the 6th pick and the 14th pick, I don't think they're going to be able to pick their if they're really top 5 guys, maybe. But if they're really going 6 and 14 next year, they're not going to be able to pick their home.
Anything else NFL we need to get in here today to make you a happy host, Larry? Anything else? I think we got it all out there. I think we have covered this league magnificently in the last 59 minutes, if you don't mind me saying. Are you ready for a few other things, or should we do some star?
Well, there's a couple interesting things. One, the Broncos today are hosting JJ McCarthy, and Sean Payton is open to trading up. So that's kind of interesting. What else? The Patriots, they say, are investigating the wide receiver trade market, so they could very much be in play if the Niners decide they want to move Brandon Ayuk.
There you go. Go to a team without a quarterback. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Just that other column for the next 10 minutes before we get to your starred chats, Larry. See what happens in the super chats. Warriors fans, you might get lapped by the Houston Rockets for the 10 seed. Like, that's something that could actually happen. They were 6 games clear of the Rockets and then have dropped 6 of their last 9 games as the Rockets have gotten on their first heater in like 4 years in the post James Harden era and have stacked wins on top of wins. And so they are creeping up to the Warriors at the 10 seed as the Warriors are retreating, possibly out of the playoff picture altogether. They've dropped 6 of 9, have the Warriors, including Sunday in Minnesota. Kerr is defending a low minute total for Steph Curry in a 4-point loss. There are 3 more games on this upcoming road trip, and they're, I think, going to lose 2 of them. Miami, Orlando, and Charlotte. I see them losing in Miami. I see them losing in Orlando. Maybe they get a win in Charlotte. There are only 12 games left, and this team is playing without a sense of urgency. And Steve Kerr is coaching without a sense of urgency. And you got to get more than 30 minutes out of your best player in a 4-point loss. It's just the way it goes. LeBron would have played 44 minutes, for God's sakes. Steph Curry needs to not be babied by his head coach. There's no saving a guy for a postseason when you might not even be in a postseason. So I think that Kerr got that one wrong, and he is defending angrily some pointed questions in that press conference last night. And look, Moses Moody has been dropped from the rotation entirely here, basically. He got 8 minutes against the Knicks, 4 minutes against the Grizzlies, 6 minutes against the Pacers, and a coach DNP in Minnesota. When your team is lacking energy, I think you got to get Moses Moody in there. And he doesn't even play on a night where they needed some more energy. So to let you know that numbers sometimes can be total bullshit. I saw Kareth Burke retweet this out, and she's probably the premier team house organ right now. She will advance anything that Raymond Ritter wants out there in the public. Since January 30th, the Warriors have the 3rd most wins. They're first in rebounding and first in assists. Yeah, well, they're still the 10th seed and going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They're the only playoff team in either conference that's sub 500 at home.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about? They're thoroughly 500. They're just a thoroughly mediocre team with kind of a tough nightly decision pattern because they're a little too deep, but they don't have good enough players. You know what I mean? It's like they're too deep, but they're not good enough. Moses Moody should play on a regular basis, but doesn't on this team because they just can't come up with the minutes. I mean, they're basically their 4-man bench is Peyton, Clay, Paul, and TJD, and then their starting 5 has been kind of inconsistent. Pajemski maybe is hitting the rookie wall. He only had 2 rebounds last night. He's usually pulls way more than that. Wiggins, I don't know what to say about Wiggins. Kuminga, has had some really great nights, but he looks like he's petering out a little bit. Draymond and Curry are older players. I mean, it's just, I mean, I thought the funniest thing were the people a month ago were like, yeah, they're going to circle the wagons and they're going to make a playoff run and there's nobody they can't beat. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
There's nobody they can't beat. Denver will beat them with their eyes closed. OKC the same. Same with Minnesota. Same with the Clippers. Maybe they could contend in a series against the Pelicans or Phoenix or Sacramento or Dallas. But, I mean, come on. The Warriors, they got a couple guys who are before their prime. They got a couple, 3-4 guys that are outside of their prime. They have very few of their rotation players in the prime of their career. And they've been uninspiring all year. They're 18-19 at home.
Look, here's the thing. They're paying an awful lot of money to 2 guys who basically haven't done shit for the team this year. And that's Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins. There you go. Neither of those guys is the juice has not been worth the squeeze. on either of them. And I know that Chris Paul's got an awful lot of highlights lately where he's talking about, you got to run when the coach checks in, and Chris Paul's out there as an on-court coach and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. He's not an effective player for the Golden State Warriors. He has been a guy. He's not been Chris Paul level good. So,
shocker. It's the guy's 38 years old.
He's 73 years old, Larry.
I mean, it's like you traded a 22-year-old player or 24-year-old player for a 38-year-old player. How often does that work out?
So the biggest media scrum Major League Baseball might see all year is going to happen in Los Angeles. Otani is apparently going to be talking to reporters, and we'll get to meet his new interpreter. I really wonder how aggressive we're going to see some of those reporters be with him, because this is going to bring in a level of reporter that goes far beyond just, I'm here to cover baseball, trying to make sure I get a free Dodger dog, whenever I go into the press box. This is going to attract real capital J, not fucking around journalists, because it's such a juicy story. And really, Larry, there are 3 outcomes, and that's it. There are 3 outcomes available here. Number 1, he either gambled and lied. Number 2, he either bankrolled gambling, which we know he did, because I think the least likely outcome is the third outcome, where he is the victim of a crime. I don't think he's a victim of a crime at all here. He might be the victim of trying to do a good deed for his boy, but in that action, he has put, I believe, in jeopardy his career. And
there's also got to be, I would like to see at this presser Rob Manfred, since this obviously involves MLB, and MLB issued a statement over the weekend saying that they are gathering information since they've learned about the allegations, and that that the Department of Investigations began their formal processing, investigating the matter. So there's an investigation that has started, at least. We need to know who's leading that investigation. What's the scope of the investigation? Is he being investigated for gambling on sports, or is he being investigated for gambling on baseball? Is he being investigated on gambling in games that he played in? I mean, there's a lot of questions that have to be kind of answered here before this could all go away pretty seamlessly if they can quickly deduce that he didn't wager on baseball games. If he wagered on baseball games, now this is a career-altering type situation.
I think he's got to be indefinitely suspended. He cannot be in the Dodgers lineup on Thursday. And he will be, because Major League Baseball is run by a feckless, dickless commissioner who doesn't have the guts. Does not have the guts to suspend this guy. He should be suspended while the investigation is ongoing. Period. We do not know his culpability. And Larry, you know where this investigation needs to, I think, also go to? It needs to go across the Pacific Ocean. And it's time to look at what gambling may have been done on Otani's behalf in Japan. I mean, seriously, man, I think that is an element of this that no one's even talking about. Why is Otani involved in a gambling circle exclusively in the United States? I don't believe that it would begin and end in Southern California. I mean, a smarter man would make bets in another country if he was trying to cover it up. So I think that this investigation is, multiple. It's got multiple branches growing off of it. It's going to happen on, the soil of 2 different countries if it's done right. And I just don't see how he can be playing baseball until we have some real conclusion on this.
I kind of agree. I mean, you're talking about multiple wire transfers in his name to an illegal operation that's under federal investigation. I mean, come on. The league has to take a deep look at this. I don't think he could be allowed to play through this. He may have violated federal laws. He may have violated MLB rules.
He has violated state of California laws. There's no debating that.
By the wiring of the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, but we don't even know about the gambling part. And the league, according to TJ Quinn of ESPN, he says the league's going to request interviews of all the parties, including Otani and Mizuhara. But why is Mizuhara compelled to cooperate? He doesn't work for MLB any longer. So this is going to be interesting. It's we don't know if there's IRS implications here. That's the thing. I mean, Quinn discussed in his piece today that neither the California Bureau of Investigations nor the FBI are investigating, are investigating the, Mizuhara for IRS investigations or IRS violations. So we'll see. I mean, a lot's going to come out today, you would think, and I'm eager to see the kind of the tenor of the dialogue, because is this going to be one of these things where nobody's really asking tough questions and it's an investigation done from within? It's like, are you really going to find that your star player, your biggest money making player, was
the most important piece in your global cog is in
gonna
trouble?
somehow nail him to the wall?
Right. I don't trust Major League Baseball. I do believe Major League Baseball would do everything it could to make this go away.
Right.
So they can't be in charge of that investigation. It needs to be someone independent. By the way, DeAndre Berry says, when Barry Bonds was on PEDs, you weren't saying shit because he was a giant. It's so pathetic, bro. First of all, I personally questioned Barry Bonds and the validity of what he did on KNBR more than anybody. So go fuck yourself. Number two, Barry Bonds didn't do anything that broke baseball's rules. PED, like, that's the thing. Barry Bonds never tested positive for steroids in a Major League Baseball test. So there's that element too. Was he on steroids? Absolutely he was. But you got to catch the guy. You got to get him red-handed, and they never did. So what do you want?
And DeAndre, know who you're talking to and about when you make these comments, because you're talking to a guy who went on KNBR, the Giants flagship station, and said that Barry Bonds is a fraud as the single season home run king and a fraud as the career home run king because of his Balco associations, but also totally, not a fraud as a first ballot automatic Hall of Famer, because that's what I really believe. So, and it wasn't like anybody sat there and said, no, at least nobody on this thing carried Barry's water.
Right. And we're not just sitting there golf clapping the entire Barry Bonds era and asking no questions. That didn't happen. So,
yeah. But, here's the other thing on that. It's like that Bond situation. Nobody ever was issued a refund. No record that he set ever was stricken down. No money has ever been returned to any fan for tickets. It wasn't like MLB told us in every way imaginable that was on the level, and only the Baseball Hall of Fame keeping Bonds and these guys out was the only indication that you would have that it wasn't. So, the contradiction of how the Giants, MLB, and the Hall of Fame handled the steroid era is sitting right there. But that's just a controversy, and this is another controversy. They're not related.
Well, and another thing that's not related to, and I'm tired of seeing this everywhere, is there's always some doofus who any Otani conversation, they pop in, they're like, Pete Rose needs to be, but no, Pete Rose doesn't need to do anything. This is what Shohei Otani may or may not have done is not related to Pete Rose in any way, shape, or form. They are absolutely two different topics. Pete Rose was dealt with, and Pete Rose is dealing with the circumstances of how he was dealt with. He has a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball, and I truly believe when his life ends, the summer after he dies, you can enshrine him in Cooperstown. But he doesn't get that bow. He doesn't get to show up in Cooperstown and sell more books or make that feel-good moment. Pete Rose is an on-the-record, cannot be trusted liar of the first degree, and he is serving his punishment. And his punishment was just and right, and I think he serves it to his completion. Does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Yes, he does. After he dies, and he will have served his lifetime ban. He can come back into the circle of love after his lifetime. That's it.
I mean,
call it harsh,
yeah, no.
but that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That guy cheated, lied about it, kept lying about it, lied to everyone in their face, and then when the heat died down enough, and so did his income, he writes the book and sells it to you. Here's my admission. That guy's a putz.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, somebody got all those hits. You know what I mean? He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
And he will after he dies.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so arbitrary. I mean, Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame. Ty Cobb, according to reports, stabbed a guy outside of his hotel. You know, what's worse, stabbing a guy outside of your hotel, or
you could do a little stabby stab in the 30s.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, Pete Rose there's worse guys in the Hall of Fame than Pete Rose right now. So whatever. He broke the rule. He knowingly broke the rule. He was, there's no getting around it. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, he only bet on his own team. No, he was the manager of a team. And, some days he would use certain relievers because he didn't bet the game. And other days he would use better relievers because he did bet the game. And you can't have that. And that's part of what went on. It's just the whole thing's so ridiculous when you think of Bud Selig made more money on all of this during this entire PED era, and yet he's in the Hall of Fame, and the Bonds and the Clemenses aren't. But now we're talking about Pete and gambling, and it is a central rule. And if, bottom line is, if baseball, this is why this is so interesting with Otani. Yes, he's their golden goose, but if the games are ever proven to be not on the level, the whole sport evaporates overnight, and it doesn't take a genius to see. If baseball is literally the WWE, there's going to be a fraction of the people who are going to it now, going to it in the future. It has to be on the level. If it's not on the level, you have nothing as a sports league.
Well, did you see, and this is before we get into our super chats here, Larry, did you see the video that the Giants put out with a DJ kind of on the hill and on the pitcher's mound, and there's all these lights, and the Giants are basically saying that they're going to do the blinking orange light home run celebration that totally belongs to the Dodgers and the Braves, and it's the least original idea that you could possibly have. So the Giants are all over it. And let me look. I understand that these decisions are not being made for me, and I'm getting already called Grandpa Simpson, an old man shaking his fist at a cloud, and all that stuff. Okay, that's fair, but there's a reason why we ask old men for advice, and old men couldn't give a shit about what a 20-year-old says about anything. So listen to your elders. And I'm telling you right now, Major League Baseball doesn't need to be turned into a nightclub. And even if you insist, yes, it does, why in God's name would you be getting rid of Rennell as you're turning Major League Baseball into a nightclub? She would have been the perfect announcer for that. And the fact that they're going with a rotating public address announcer means that they didn't have a plan to fire Rennell. Like they just did it without a plan. They don't even know who their PA announcer is going to be. It's going to be rotating. That's some candy ass shit right there, Larry.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, what do you want to talk about first? The nightclub stuff, while it may not be my cup of tea, I like it. I like when the lights go dark like that. They're also going to have a spotlight for Duvall. This is just more drama and more in-game stuff. They also revved up their speakers because it's kind of too quiet at Oracle Park. You know what? I'm all for the show. I get no problem with that. I really don't. I mean, if you want to dress it up, dress it up. You want to put a spotlight, put a spotlight. You want to darken the thing like other teams do as guys circle the bases, do it. Whatever. I'm all for that. And it doesn't. You don't have to be the first to do something to to liven up your ballpark. And if they feel like that will help them, then God bless them. And I'm eager to. If other teams use it, I kind of think it's cool when the lights go off and on and off and on and off and on as the guys hitting circling the bases on the home run on night games. And why not? Why not make it into a little bit of a pyrotechnic show or whatever you want to do?
Here you go, Larry. Watch this. Watch how cool this is. Watch how cool this is. Was that thrilling? Was that awesome?
That was actually that was awesome.
Did you like that? Did you? Wasn't that cool? I mean, again, what are we blinking?
No, I like it. I like it. I like the look of it. I think it looks cool. I like the Giants.
I don't want to hear anything but an organ. I'm old fashioned. When I go to a baseball game, I like going back in time. I don't need to be.
No, I got young kids and they like, they want the lights to go off and on. They want the thing to, be off the chain, and I'm okay with it. As far as Ronell's thing, I love Ronell. Ronell's great, but if you rip your boss, you're going to get fired. That's what she did. She ripped her boss, so she got fired. And she didn't get fired directly because we're in this PC world of, oh, nobody can be fired. So I'm sure they just super lowballed her. I guarantee you they waited for her contract to come up, and then they just super lowballed her, sending her a direct message that they didn't want her anymore. And
somebody says, wait a minute, doesn't Damon do like a Club Plus thing with the disco lights? Yes, but I'm the first one to do that. You've never seen any talk show host on YouTube ever do that ever. That's my idea. Trademark. All rights reserved.
You're dressing up your game, but you don't want Farhan to dress up his game.
Yeah, but it's just me sitting in my basement. I don't have $1 million budget. Wait till you see me. Wait till you see the lights when I do get that. Oh my God.
I mean, bottom line is, rich people donate money to political campaigns. Rich conservatives donate to Republican campaigns. Rich Democrats donate to Democrat campaigns. Are you mad that he donated, or are you mad to who he donated to? And if you come out and say it, aren't you putting yourself in harm's way? And if you're putting yourself in harm's way, I mean, he's the boss. I mean, it's just as simple as that. It's like there's just all I would say to anybody is let's not pretend like this is somehow unique. Go into your office today and find a way to publicly rip your boss on social media.
It won't go well.
And just count how many days it is before you're gone. So that's really it. It's like some people take their popularity out for a stroll, and some people take you've heard in the NBA of the heat check. Maybe she took a heat check. Maybe she thought she was going really good. But the bottom line is, if you go against the boss is going to win. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about it other than I hope whatever she tweeted gave her great satisfaction, because the loss of that job, and it's kind of weird too. I mean, this is the other thing. It's like she lost her job. Okay. She cut a deal with the Giants where they said it was mutual. Well, if it's mutual, it's mutual. But now we're getting all these, reports from people that are kind of her media friends saying, she got done wrong. Well, which is it? Did she get done wrong? If she got done wrong, then she needs to stand up and say she got done wrong. It sounds like she wants to be, I got done wrong, and still have the press box named after her, and still be in great favor with the Giants. So It seems to me she's trying to do more than one thing at a time. But I love her. I think I think she's a great person. I think she's very capable. And I think she was a really good PA announcer. But at the end of the day, if I rip my boss, I expect my boss to fire me. And
I do know this. Rennell gets laid off. She gets invited to the Warriors game, sitting there with Brian Murphy. When Paul McCaffrey got laid off, the Warriors, they freaking made him a jersey and gave him the key to the city, basically. We love you. Me, the afternoon host on the flagship station, the Golden State Warriors, gets laid off. Crickets, Larry. Nothing. They haven't sent me a pizza.
At least you're over it. At least it doesn't bug you.
I'm actually proud of that. I'm proud of that. I really am. I didn't come here to be friends, and I don't have any.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's like, you can, do you really want some great send off, or do you just, I don't need that. No. I know who loves me. My wife loves me. My kids love me. My friends love me. I don't need to be loved by everybody. And I never did the job to be loved.
Look at it this way. If
you're not running for office,
if the teams that you cover love you,
you're soft.
Your coverage is soft.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So thank you very much for tuning in. Let's get to some super chats, Larry, and then we got a boogie.
Okay. Well, this isn't a super, but we do have Pob79 says, have we talked about Larry advancing in the 49er media madness? Damon, I think you may have gotten ousted. I don't have the pool in front of me, but please vote for me because I think I'm up against the guy who created the pool this round. And something tells me that the guy
I have no idea what you're even talking about. What are you talking about?
Oh, there's a pool out for 49er media madness, and it basically is like it's like a bracket, right? It's like like this.
Okay.
But except it has Matt Mayoko, Matt Barrows, me, you, Paulie Mack, every media person in it. And I beat Sour.
Who did I get seated against? Who did I play? Did I win a game? How am I doing?
You did. You hold on. Give me 30 seconds.
Okay. I had no idea that I had even been invited to a postseason bracket tournament of Niner reporters, content creators. I have no idea what Larry is talking about at all. We talked about Larry advancing in the 49er media madness and Damon being ousted. Who bumped me? Congratulations to whoever that is. All right.
So here it is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so 49er Gold Standard. Have you heard of them?
Is that Rob Guerrera?
Rob Guerrera Stats.
Yeah.
Stats. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on his channel. Nice guy.
Well, so he put together a media madness poll with a bunch of people. And you did win in the first round. Let's see. You had, I'll tell you, everybody's name is so tiny here. Damon Bruce. Yeah, you took down Joe Shasky. You took down Joe. So you took down Shasky in the first round.
Sorry, Butcher.
But then you got taken down, and Jesse Naylor got taken down by Kyle Posey, and now Kyle Posey has taken you down in the second round. So you made it to.
I don't know who Kyle Posey is. So
he writes for Niners Nation.
Okay. No, I do recognize that name. I guess
he is really, really good.
Okay.
There's no shame in losing.
Congratulations to Kyle. Look, Larry, I'm happy to be seated. I've been doing this for 1 year.
I know.
March 25th, by the way, is the birthday of my channel. And my birthday, to be honest with you. So after a year, I made the tourney.
Tourney. Now
I'm Grand Canyon over here.
My own kid picked Dave Lombardi to beat Chase Senior. My own 14-year-old, not Kev, but my own 14-year-old picked Chase Senior to take me down, and Chase Senior got taken down by Jennifer Lee-Chan in the first round. I took down Sour Death Sam in the first round.
Was that a
And then
116 matchup, Larry? Were you a 1 seed?
I don't know if I doubt I was a 1 seed. No, there's no seedings by numbers. But then in the second round, I took down Rohan Chakravarthi. So I
Okay.
am now at the Sweet 16, and I'm going up against Rob Guerrera. So all the people out there, I mean, this is Rob Guerrera is the one who's counting all these votes. So I don't think there's going to be a very good chance of me beating Rob Guerrera. I'm not saying it's not on the up and up, but come on. Is Rob Guerrera really going to let Larry Krueger beat him in the third round in his own thing? My guess is no. So, but all you out there, if you guys could do me a solid and just vote Krueger early and often, help me take down Rob Guerrera and get to that next round. I would appreciate that. I'm probably still going down in the next round because it's Barrows and Silver going head to head, and I think Barrows or Silver probably take me down. But help me get by stats, Guerrera, because I mean, at the end of the day, I really should be. I should get the vote over stats, Guerrera. So somebody out there, please vote early, vote often. If you're like one of those guys that you have lots and lots of free time and you can just vote a ton of times, be that guy for me, please. I need that guy. I need that vote that makes me feel better about myself.
You care about
this. I care greatly about this. Who's
going to be the final four? Here's who I think it should be. Look, I'm not personally a fan, but I can't deny the impact of Grant Cohn. I think you should absolutely be there. Matt Mayoko probably wins the whole damn thing because he seems to be the, lead journalist covering the 49ers. And who else?
Well, there's Brad
four?
Graham.
Yeah.
Brad Graham.
Was it SF Niners?
There's Lombardi.
Yeah, I would put Dave up there too. Dave's important.
There's Grant. There's Croc. Mayoko, Barrows, myself. I don't know. I mean, those are the people that Grant definitely. I would probably have Cone and Crocker. I don't know. Brad and Lombardi, Guy and Mayoko, me and Barrows. That would be my final. That'd be my elite eight.
I'm coming for all you motherfuckers next year. Ooh, look out. I'm going to hit the transfer portal. I'm going to get this team ready, Larry. We'll see you in the next year's bracket.
Just vote. It's important that you vote, but it's more important that you vote a lot for Krueger to get by stats. Guerrero.
Can you game the system? Do you get multiple votes?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can vote multiple times. So last year I voted just constantly. This year I haven't voted. This year I'm just going to let the dogs fall where they may. But damn it, vote for me. I
wish you the very, very best.
Does that help when you scream at the audience? Vote for me, please. No.
Maybe I wish you the best, Larry. I hope you cut down the nets of fictitious media tournament that
it means
I didn't even know about. So congrats.
It means everything. All right. Dale says ain't got much, but here's $2 for you, BD Damon.
Thank you.
Is today your birthday, by the way?
It is.
Happy birthday.
It is. Thank you. Should be, look at it this way. I'm covering the 49ers and I'm 49. So if you believe in numerology, it might be their year, right?
What are you going to do? You going to have a special party?
We did it last night. And thank you very much, Dale. We did it last night. A buddy of mine came over, made a nice little dinner, gave Jillian the night off. Jillian baked a cake with the boys. And I drank way too much whiskey. The beginning of this show, I was feeling a little oogie. I feel a little bit better now. This cup of coffee has been medicinal. But
were you gonna yak? Were you over in yak territory?
I felt a little, yeah, this morning I did. I didn't toss cookies, but I didn't feel great. I didn't feel great.
We're not the partiers we used to be. I mean, I
No.
found that out in Vegas. I was dragging from like day 2 on in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first sign of aging is how many nights in a row can you go out? Once you get into those early 30s, it goes from, yeah, I was out, 4 nights in a row to 3 nights in a row is a lot. Then you get in your 40s and 2 nights in a row is a lot. And then you get into, your late 40s and good Lord, it's one night is enough. So, yeah, I ain't who I used to be, but I'm still better than most. So there you go.
Yeah. What's I forget the song, but there's a song that goes with it. Michael Diaz says, Larry, didn't you just do a show with Coach on Saturday saying that you doubt Kyle Shanahan can win with the Niners? I'm just saying that if it came down to betting, I think Kyle Shanahan is definitely going to win a Super Bowl. I'm not convinced it's with the Niners. I hope it's with the Niners. If I'm Jed, I'd give him a long run. He's already had a long run. But I'm more, if you said, what are you more convinced? I'm more convinced that Shanahan gets a ring than whether it comes with the Niners. And if that wasn't clear, that was the point.
Yeah, are you doing like opposite content with somebody else? Like you come on, tell one story over here, then you do another show with somebody else, and you're like, this guy sucks.
They'll never win with Shanahan. And then on the stream, they're gonna win with Shanahan.
Again, how do you expect to beat Rob Stats Guerrero unless you got some consistency, Larry? Come on.
Maybe that's probably the best thing going forward is just be dramatically inconsistent. Just every stream, totally different views. They ought to draft O-line and nothing but O-line next stream. Trade all those picks, get a corner. And you just grab bag it every day, something different. Blood Moon says, what bullshit? NFL bans hip drop tackle flag now. Yeah.
It'll be a headache.
It'll be a headache. Boxing fan ×4. What about BA plus this year's pick 31? Either a 2025 second or a third pick to Denver for Surtain and Denver's 12 pick. They're just swapping picks and players. Let me think about that. BA and 31, and then a second next year for Surtain and their 12th pick.
I don't think you have to give up that second anymore. Based on what L'Jarius Sneed just got flipped for to the Titans, I think you're over-offering right there, boxing fan. I think less than that has been set by the market.
That is interesting, though. If you got, the 12 pick. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to put the value on what is the true value in these swaps. But the 12 pick, then what would you do with it? Would you take Brian Thomas, a receiver? Would you take that offensive lineman? I don't know. Danky Kang says, would Denver ask for BA in a potential trade? I don't know. I mean, Denver, I think, is in a different mode than the Niners. Denver's mode is they're trying to rebuild. I think they want picks.
I think they want picks, and they're not trying to go like all in right now. I think Denver smart should just be stocking talent, getting your line really good in both directions, and kind of waiting out the peak of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and sort of seeing what Harbaugh does. The Raiders, they always fuck it up. I just don't think it's urgent go mode for the Denver Broncos. They don't need a guy like Brandon Ayuk.
I mean, who wouldn't want Ayuk? But at the same time, if you're Denver, are you an Ayuk away from anything? No.
If you look at it this way, if you're about to trade Patrick Surtain, you're telling the league we're not contending.
And on the Ayuk front, John Lynch addressed reporters today at the NFL owners meeting, and he emphasized that the Niners are pursuing a contract extension with Ayuk.
They should. They should.
He says, we're actively talking with Brandon, trying to figure something out. I always talk. We have a good history of working with the guys we want to get done, get done to get something done. And it takes two sides. So can we do that? We'll see. There's a number of different directions that it could go, but we appreciate the heck out of Brandon and who he is as a player. We want him to be part of the Niners. So we're going to work towards making that a reality. So good for them. They should make it a reality. I mean, why, the same reason. I mean, to me, it makes no sense to be in your Super Bowl window and try to trade for Surtain and then trade Ayuk away. Either you're going for it and you want a couple of extra players to try to get you over the top on the perimeter, like a Surtain, like an Ayuk, or you're not going for it and it's time for picks. But to me, trading for Surtain and then trading Ayuk away makes no sense.
I would agree. And it just, in a big year for Brock Purdy, taking away his favorite weapon, that makes no sense. So,
right.
I hope they can get it done.
And Lynch went on to say there have been 0 trade discussions involving Brandon Ayuk. So I hope they keep Ayuk, and play the draft aggressively and build their, see if they can find. I personally would try to get that number 1 corner, and I would want to do it for some deferred picks. I mean, heck, can you imagine if the Niners could get Surtain this year on the same kind of deal that the Chiefs or that the Titans just got Snead? A 6th-round pick this year and a 2nd and a 3rd next year, deferred. And it's like you got Surtain, and this year all you gave was a 6th. I mean, that's kind of what Tennessee did, right? They gave us a 7th and a 3rd, and the 7th is this year, and the 3rd is next year. So that would be phenomenal. Then you could go into the draft. You could have Surtain. You could go bolster your offensive line, probably add a couple pieces to your defense, make a run at the Super Bowl, and then reassess your cap and everything else a year from now when it's time to pay Purdy.
Dude, it feels like the 49ers should have jumped into that L'Jarius Sneed deal. They could have come up with a better offer.
But I mean, if you're Brett Veach, why in the hell would you ever trade Sneed to the Niners? If that's malpractice in my
right.
I mean, the one team that can take you down, you're going to give them Sneed. I mean, that would be like the Niners giving Charles Haley to the Cowboys. It didn't work out too well. All right.
What else we got? What else we got?
We got another one or two here. Let's see. Wait a second. Wait, I just saw another one jump in here. Do we throw that one out? Danky Kang with Denver ask for
I remember Danky Kang.
Okay, wait a second. We just
great name.
Wait a second. Not for some reason they're not loading on the right side.
I can see him.
Yeah.
I can't bring him up. I can't click on you're running the room, so I can't bring it up, but I can say that Nacho Crash has dropped $5 saying happy birthday. Thank you very, very much.
Showtime 2118 says, where do we go to vote? I'm not really sure. I think you go on Twitter, look up Rob Guerrero, Stats Guerrero on Twitter, and vote early, vote often. It's gold standard for the gold standard something podcast.
By the way, smart of Rob to bump up traffic on his website with the bracket. It's a smart move.
Very smart. Rob is a very sharp guy. Very, very sharp guy. Hopefully not sharp enough to take yours truly down in this next round. The regular Ryan says, will Trent and Ralph campaign for these votes? Absolutely. Vote for Lowry. I've said it. I would have voted for Damon too. Damon was tough on me on the radio, granted. But you know what I say? Vote for Damon, vote for Lowry. And that gets the Trent Baalke seal of approval.
I was talking to Tom, I was talking to Tate, and we both agreed that we're all going to go with Larry. We're going to support Larry, even though Larry's a little mean sometimes, and he's not the nicest guy you're ever going to meet. You know, he's doing his very best to try to get to the heart of the matter, and you know, I think I got respect for Larry. I don't know how much he really, you know, wants to be friends with anybody, but it kind of makes him good at what he does. So I'm gonna, you know, Larry's a little mean, but we're all three of us are voting, and we'll vote twice if we have to. It's like a Chicago election.
Craig, you're so cute the way you care about this election. I mean, come on. You don't have a Miata. You don't have an Amici sponsorship. You don't have so many of the things that make me me. But I'll tell you, it's cute as hell that you care about this little campaign. I'll vote for you. I'll tell Tommy to vote for you. Tom, let's vote. Let's vote. And maybe we'll go down to Amici's. We'll bring Tate. It'll be great. We'll all be sitting outside in the Miata. We'll vote early. We'll vote often.
The regular Ryan says, will Trent and Ralph campaign? There you go. Then we
There
have
you
this
go.
one
Just happened.
from Nacho Crash. Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, Nacho. Thank you. Any advice for a 49-year-old man, Larry?
Well,
No.
I would say, first of all, don't feel the need to, you know, to bend to everybody else's rules just because, you know, everybody else is doing it. Like, if you haven't been wearing a bike helmet all these years, don't go to a bike helmet now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If you're the guy that goes for a bike ride with your wife and kids and doesn't wear a helmet, then keep not wearing the helmet. Don't be like, you know what, don't let everybody else influence you.
There you go. So sometimes you got to flirt with head trauma, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Flirt with head trauma. There's a right and we're all going to get out of here at some point. You know, getting out of here in a terrible bike accident might actually be, you know, the way to go. I mean, seriously, you know what happened to him? You know, it was amazing. It was in Golden Gate Park in the fall of, you know, and he wasn't looking. And, you know, it's amazing what happened there. But yeah, I would say that. And also, the other one is, you know, no time spent with your kid will ever be wasted. So, if you ever have a work obligation or any kind of obligation that you think's an obligation and a little league game for Jack, just go to the little league game.
Can I tell you what we did? Because he's taking swim classes down in Burlingame at this place called La Petite Baleine, which is French for the little whale. And so he loves his swim class. The kid loves being in the water. And so I take him down there every single Saturday, and there is an International House of Pancakes. And I brought Jack into the International House of Pancakes. And it was like, it's like, remember when you were 21 and you got to go into your first bar? Like how excited you were? That's how excited Jack was about the International House of Pancakes. He loved it. Oh my God, he loved it. It's French laundry.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, so yesterday was Saturday or Sunday, I should say, and we had baseball. I should say Saturday we had baseball. And 2 days ago. And so my 14-year-old, I'm coaching his team. We were rained out here in Walnut Creek. And my 18-year-old or 17-year-old plays varsity for Northgate. They were playing in Novato at 1:00, and it was like 12:20. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care. I don't know if it's gonna be raining in Novato or not. I don't know if they're gonna play or not. I'm just getting in my car. I'm gonna drive to Novato and watch my kid play. And sure enough, you know, Bay Area microclimate. It was beautiful in Novato, unbelievably sunny day. And so we were out there, you know, watching baseball at Novato High School. So it was, you know, those are the times that you just sit there and you go, you know what, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. So yeah, I would just say never miss a game.
So your formal advice to me on my 49th birthday is spend as much time with your children as humanly possible. Yet should you go for a bike ride, don't put on a helmet, you pussy.
Yeah, don't put on a helmet. Come on. Listen, take your chances. Take your chances. I mean, I'm not saying get in your car and don't buckle your seatbelt. Buckle your seatbelt. But if you're going for a bike ride on a path, don't wear a helmet, man. Don't wear a helmet. Especially you got hair. Let it fly. Let it fly.
Right. All right. That's sound advice. Larry,
Get your kid a helmet.
Get your kid a helmet. Absolutely.
Get your wife a helmet, but don't wear a helmet.
Thank you so very, very much for liking, subscribing, and watching today. Larry and I will be back at 8:30 a.m. West Coast time on Wednesday and Friday again this week. Let's see. I'm flirting with disaster for my 11 o'clock show on my channel. I actually included baseball on my thumbnail about this being baseball's opening week. So I'm sure that show might go down in flames. We'll find out together. But I think that we covered an awful lot of good Niners stuff here, a lot of good NFL stuff. Hope everyone agrees. And we just say thanks very much for tuning in. And we've already done the Trent and you, Ralph. So, Larry, wrap it up and tell everyone to, not wear a helmet.
Come on, guys. Take care of yourselves and everything, but don't wear a helmet. Helmets are for sissies.